Welcome to the Homeownership Podcast presented by Momentum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. This series covers all things real estate and the best practices for buying, selling, and owning properties. Now here's your host, Sean Maloney.
Welcome to episode 191, How to Deal with Rising Heat Costs. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. This week I want to take some time to help you homeowners understand how to help manage your heat costs. It's going to be a tough winter out there. Rumors on the street are huge increases on electricity, huge increases on oil, huge increases on gas. Right now, we've been seeing gas prices wean down, but we all know November is election season and the politicians are heartless, right? They're going to give us great gas prices, doesn't matter whether they're Democrat, Republican. Great gas prices right before election season, always. So then we see the rise in costs. So let's talk about how to keep what you have, how to do better, how to manage it, and ultimately how to come out with just a little bit more money or a little less scathed, as they call it, when it comes to this winter. First off, remember that planting trees and bushes is something that people underutilize. We often do it for the idea of, I like the color, I like the flowers, all this stuff, but we don't think, what if I was to put a hedgerow in the windy section of my house and deflect all that wind from the northeast section during the wintertime? What kind of benefit would that have to my home? Well, depending on where you live, it could be massive, guys. I live on a lake and I have a south exposure heading from the lakeside, so that's the warm air, but on the opposite side of my house, I look directly northeast. Luckily, my neighbor's house is massive, their garage is massive, and we have trees there. So during a northeast storm, I really don't get the winds, which means my drafts are less, which means my house is warmer because I have these large objects. But if I hadn't had those there, it may be time for me to plant some sort of barrier to knock down the winds, because the wind pushes its way through the cracks and into your home. When it's cold out, your house almost insulates itself with a little warm igloo around it of warm air because the air isn't moving quick. When it's windy, it's pulling all that temperature from all the surfaces, everything from the exterior shingle all the way down to the interior, and taking it elsewhere. So planting some trees and shrubs can help cut down. This also is a practice that can help during the summertime. You could also put them in some sunny areas where your house gets too warm. But always try to think about balance of, is it too warm during the summer or too cold during the winter, and figure out where those plants and shrubs go based on that. Next thing, having heavy window treatments. So a lot of people, they really underthink the windows. During the sun, right, when the radiant heat's coming, if we open our window treatments and allow the sun in, it's going to warm the house up significantly. And then during the nighttime, if we pull down a nice curtain and blind and we close it all up, window treatments, drapery, any of that, we may have a lot more insulating power. Now, I know there offer those static clings out there, the clears. They do work. It's just that you lose use of the windows. So if possible, it's easier to do the drapery and blinds, but certainly not a bad ad. And also make sure to check all the gaskets and fittings and make sure that the window is closing correctly and that it has the proper gasketing material around it, because leaky windows are a big one. Really check that all out. Another thing I recommend would be having multiple heat sources. Having something like some electric heaters, a wood stove, as well as gas or oil heat gives you 3 different directions to go, right? Wood is fairly efficient, fairly cheap. It's a little bit dirty, but very warm heat, very dry heat. And ultimately speaking, you can flip it on during the day and allow it to take the chill out of the house and leave it for a while. And it gets the house so warm that it lasts quite a bit of time. People really enjoy that heat. Electric heat, good way to just flip it on, to have one room, close the door, flip it on, have that one room warm up and leave the rest of the house in the 60s, have that one room in the 70s, enjoy that. So using doors, closing and opening doors, choosing which rooms to heat, not heat, these are all ways to cut down on your costs, but also to make your life a little better. Obviously, we all know, put more clothes on, put on more sweatshirts, everything like that. But at the end of the day, after such a hard life, after so much work, going through the rain, going through the snow, doing all these things, there's some sort of comfort in coming home to a warm house. So figuring out ways to make that happen is better than just layering it on. Obviously, we can all layer it on. We all can cut degrees off of our thermostat. Those are 2 obvious to point out. Heating blankets and heating pads, another great option to warm you up, just as you in specific, because I know for myself, I've lived in cottages many years. I've lived on the water. For us, a lot of times the heat was so expensive because of the locations that we put a heating blanket on our bed and we put a space heater in the bathroom. So you get up in the middle of the night, you need to use the bathroom, you come out of your heating blanket, go over to the bathroom, close the door. Most bathrooms are like 6 by 7, maybe 10 feet at most. You flip a space heater on, it's instantaneously warm in there and you feel good. So by doing that during the nighttime, we're able to cut quite a significant figure of money off because we weren't trying to heat the house versus the coldest time of the day. We were allowing it to drop back into the 50s and 60s and then bringing it up to temperature when we warm up and when the sun is back out helping us. Because remember, during the night, when there's no clouds and we're getting radiational cooling, it's going to really suck the cold air right in. It's going to pull it right into your house. So during the daytime, it's a lot easier to heat it up. So turning your temperatures down at night, possibly putting an electric heater with a thermostat in your bedroom if it gets too cold for you. And make sure it's a safe one. Make sure it's a tip-ready one. Tips over, it shuts itself off. Make sure it has a proper thermostat. Make sure it's functioning correctly. Try not to leave them going when you're not around unless you bought expensive ones that are meant to do that. Be careful with the space heaters. They are a fire hazard. But they can pull it down to where you just have that one room at the 70-degree mark and the rest of the house in the 50s and 60s, which can save a very significant figure of money. Guys, I hope you stay warm this winter. If you're looking for alternative heat sources, check out wood, check out pellets, check out all these things. But the reason I like wood so much, right, is when the power goes out, it does not need anything other than more wood in the fire to create heat, which means you have a heat source that's around no matter what the weather does, no matter what the government does, no matter where the world goes, you have a secure heating source. Thank you guys so much for listening this week. I hope you tune in next week. If you haven't already done so, make sure to pound that subscribe button. Also tell all the other homeowners you know about this great podcast about buying, selling, and owning homes. We look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great week.